what could be the measures that could be proposed to provide aid to the people of Gaza at this very particular time?
Well, already Egypt is very much involved in the providing of the humanitarian assistance, and the Egyptian government, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, has repeatedly stated that our purposes are to stop the war and to provide humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people, as well as to help in the massive reconstruction plan that this place needs right now after basically Israel turned the place into rubble. I mean, 90% of the buildings or the infrastructure and the electricity grids in almost every way to sustain life in Gaza has been destroyed. So definitely there is a massive need for a construction plan that will meet the demands of the Palestinian people for many years to come. We've already seen the trucks getting into Gaza in rather huge numbers that we haven't seen in the past 9 months at least, but definitely there is still need for much more. As soon as the agreement proceeds, the ceasefire agreement, we're going to see some reconstruction equipment getting into Gaza that are been banned over the past 16 months to prevent the Palestinians from rebuilding their houses. So basically the Palestinians right now, they need everything, and that's where the role of the Arab countries becomes important. But Egypt will always remain the key entry point and the key coordination point for all this assistance that's supposed to come to Palestine. It's very important on that level to coordinate with the other Arab countries who are definitely going to have a very important role to play in funding this reconstruction. But let me say here again something that President Sisi has repeatedly referred to, that, I mean, we want a permanent settlement for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and not a temporary one that would lead basically to a new war once every 4 or 5 years. And then we find ourselves at the same point whereby there's a destroyed Gaza Strip, thousands of people killed, and a massive need for reconstruction money to be able to kind of fix what the Israeli aggression has done. So, I mean, that's a cycle that we in Egypt here want very much to avoid, and to get to the basics of solving the Palestinian-Israeli conflict through reviving the Middle East peace process, and perhaps convincing the new U.S. president as one of the alternatives that we concentrate on what has already been agreed on, which is a two-state solution, a Palestinian state in Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem as its capital, whereby it will live in peace next to Israel. And then we can start think of a brighter future rather than that of continuous wars that we've been seeing in this region over the past 8 decades, let me say that.
And that's another message that this meeting is sending. Mr. Omar, let me ask you now, the meeting is coming at the backdrop of many of the international pressures. Now, how do those international pressures could influence the discussions at this meeting?
In fact, Egypt is very much committed by the international path identified internationally, and we cannot let for the President Trump to go into wars that would threaten the Palestinian cause. Therefore, Egypt, under these circumstances, along with the state of Qatar and the reconstruction of Gaza, and Egypt is going to activate the file of reconstruction, and we are in dire need of Arab funding of reconstruction, not to
Mr. Ihab, my question, pardon me if I interrupt you. My question would be, or my question was, how would the international pressures affect discussions in this meeting?
The international pressures are in place. Maybe it is the cause of this meeting before the American attempt. And I think that some European countries never moved till now, but supporting the proposal of America of the Gazan displacement. Today's article, the main one in the meeting, regarding the rejection of displacement, this response isn't negative without any escalating in steps or movement, but there is a committee is going to be emerged of that meeting to go throughout the European countries and US administration to reach a consensus with them. The Egyptian diplomacy, when rejecting the Western direction, is just not for a matter of rejection, but proposing solutions and to be free for the main Palestinian cause. So the American pressures were present and the threat of displacement were in place, but the statement of the summit was clear in rejecting the displacement and to pursue a counter diplomacy to dismantle this U.S. plans through consultation with the world countries as well as the current U.S. administration to the idea of surrendering and to have working with this proposal is not actually imprisoned before the Egyptian diplomacy.
Getting back to you, Mr. Dawoud, and from your point of view, could there be potential of an impact of the U.S. policies on these discussions?
Definitely. I mean, again, I think it was pretty significant in the statement. Maybe the second or third point in the statement was expressing willingness to work with the new U.S. administration so that at least, I mean, again, it's a reminder of the special relationship that those Arab ministers who met in Cairo today have with the United States. So it's not like, you know, we are totally closing the door for cooperation with the new U.S. administration. But again, a reminder that any cooperation or future negotiations in which the U.S. would be involved have to be based on international legitimacy, decisions that cannot be ignored. We cannot simply ignore all the decisions that issued by the Security Council, by several Arab summits that are basically stating the parameters of any settlements based on the Israeli withdrawal from occupied Arab territories in return for normal relations between Arab countries and Israel. That's a basic tenet that I don't think has changed, and I don't think that there are any signs that it's going to change. And I guess, I mean, again, if one of the priorities of President Trump is to resume his effort to normalize relations between Arab countries and Israel, the proposal to deport the Palestinian people will basically fail any of those efforts. And I think it was very important to hear from the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia and even from Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman himself that Saudi Arabia will not agree to any measures that does not involve the establishment of a Palestinian state. So yes, Saudi Arabia is open to discuss possible normalization of relations with Israel, but this is not going to happen without the recognition of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. So the American pressure and the American changes were very clearly present in today's meeting, and I guess it was one of the main reasons why this meeting was held with the participation of those particular countries. It was not an overall meeting for all Arab foreign ministers. I guess the result wouldn't have been any different, but the fact that this statement and this position and stand is being adopted by very close allies and friends of the United States, I think it should make a difference for the new administration in Washington and set the parameters of the discussions in the future. So it's very important to have this united Arab stand when it comes to the policies of Mr. Trump and his new proposals.